Good evening and welcome to the Online Darts Fallout Bar as we now get right. We've been saying for a couple of weeks we're at the business end of the tournament, but as we come to the end of night 15 at the First Direct Arena in Leeds, we are right at the important moments. I am joined, as it seems to be, my most regular partner on the Fallout Bar this year for the Premier League, Mr. Cam McFarlane. Cam, how are we doing?
Not so bad at all, mate. How the hell are you?
Very, very well. Very well. Do you know, it was we've said it so often, it was a funny old night of darts and a strange set of results, but I didn't feel too much surprise in any match tonight when I looked at the way it went, if you like. I wasn't surprised by the winner. What was interesting, we've seen over the last few weeks an awful lot of close games. We saw much less of that tonight. We came very close multiple times. We still haven't seen a whitewash this year in the Premier League, but tonight we had multiple opportunities. I've been saying for a few weeks, and typically after I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, we are due the dominant world number one world champion turning up and playing his A game and blowing everybody away. And the night that I don't pick him, in fact, the night that I pick him to get beat in the first round, ridiculously, I think I'd had my predicting line. I'd had my predicting line open, I think, when I had a look at that. He turns up and in his open game averages 109 and absolutely bombs everybody out. So tremendous performance in, I suppose, let's call it his adopted city of Leeds. Obviously, a huge fan of the football team. We'll come a little bit later on to talk about the walk-on.
Yeah, he's as much from Leeds as, to throw out another sporting reference from tonight, as Matty Cash is from Poland, isn't he? Like, he's correct.
Leeds. He's as much from Leeds. He's as much a part of Leeds as our good friend and colleague Jack Goward is from Liverpool.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or Jarlath is Irish.
yeah, that's the one we should have gone with, to be fair.
But a good night. I did find it a really entertaining evening of darts. What we'll do, we'll follow our usual format. We're 15 weeks into this now, so we're pretty much we're stuck now for the format. Although I've got a little bit of surprise for format wise for the 23rd of May in a couple of weeks' time that we'll come to a little bit later on. So I think we'll start the night with a game. Now, I made no secret in our little group that I was very, very convinced of what would be the result in this game and put my money where my mouth was, because our title sponsors, both of the tournament and of this stream, BetMGM, I chose this week to not go for I wasn't too confident on an ACCA and the W odds. There wasn't four things that I was confident on, but I very much enjoyed the value offered by them for the minus 1.5 legs handicap for Michael van Gerwen at 6-5. If you got on that as well done. Please do.
Did you get at 3-1, Mr. Simpson?
A little bit twitchy. So I'll come to that, because I did get a bit twitchy. If you are enjoying a bet with our sponsors, BetMGM, please do gamble responsibly. 18 plus, BigGambleAware.org. Now, just coming back exactly to your point there, Cam. Obviously, this was on paper. It looks to be, a convincing Michael van Gerwen win at 3-1. When we look at the stats, the stats lean very heavy into the favour of the Dutchman. But at 2-0 up, I got a little bit twitchy. When Kessie broke MVG again and went 3-1 up, I thought, this is getting a little bit nervous. Were you at any point sold, even at 3-1, that this could be anything other than a Michael van Gerwen win? Did you feel the energy for Wright or not?
At 3-1, I thought there was a chance of the upset. Well, maybe not. At 2-1, I think I felt a chance of the upset, but it felt like even in that fourth leg where he went 3-1 up price, it felt like MVG was starting to click a little bit. And I did think that lack of practice, lack of match action for Price was going to come into it at some point, and I think we saw that. I think we saw a pretty drastic drop off from there onwards, which coincided with Van Gerwen going the other way as well and getting his game together, and ended up with a really solid performance in the end. And I think it was probably almost needed Price to be putting him under pressure at that point. Like that break of throw to go 3-1 up was probably what he needed just to kick him really into gear, because it looked like one of those where if it had just sort of gone with throw throughout, he might have lost this 6-5, Van Gerwen. Like, because there might just not have been anything that really sort of got him going. But going that breakdown to go 3-1 behind, looking in a bit of bother, he kind of there's just a bit more purpose to what he was doing, and he just looked a little bit more focused, and it showed from there on, and played really well from that point.
There did seem to be a bit of a reset of it, like, you know, Gezi won the ball, came out, held his throw, then broke MVG, and you just felt, you know, it is because, and you know, we talked a lot about, to be honest, we talked a lot earlier in the week on the live rounds. We discussed whether or not we'd even see Gezi Price today. You know, we know he's not playing in the Euro Tour at the weekend. We know he's had issues with his back. And certainly, you know, he came out, won the ball, 2 legs won, and we didn't see fragility in him, did we? You know, we didn't see a great deal of fragility at all. And it just started to dissipate. And you're right, the timing for Gezi was dreadful because it coincided with Michael Van Gerwen just starting to look a bit settled and a bit smoother. He just seemed to find his rhythm. The 1-2-5 checkout was lovely. And that, when you are spinning legs together and you're going back to back, that's exactly the sort of thing that he uses to keep his momentum flowing. And I do think there was a bit in the match, probably, in fact, it was probably that break of throw where Gezi went 4-3 down, that he almost looked a little bit resigned to his fate, I think.
I think you look at it, and I mean, the last 5 legs, Gezi's it 2 scores of 140 plus. That's it. Like, considering he'd had before that point 6 of them in the first 4 legs, it's a massive drop off, and you're just not going to keep up with Van Gerwen playing that sort of darts.
Certainly not when Michael Van Gerwen's playing like that. You know, there are versions we've seen lately of Michael Van Gerwen where that might get you. Certainly might push.
I think that's what I was saying, really, in that if it had stayed scrappy and stayed on throw, he might not have found that gear, and he might not have kicked into it, and what Gezi was doing might have been enough, but he just didn't give himself the opportunities down the stretch because Michael upped his game and he dropped off a little bit.
He did, and unfortunately for Gezi Price, I mean, obviously we know that his Premier League campaign for this year is done. You know, obviously he's far from being able to qualify. His prize for not finishing bottom is to play Luke Humphries next week, and we'll come to predictions a little bit later. But
just what you need, isn't it?
If you're not feeling it and not really enjoying the Premier League, and you're not like the idea of having to travel for quite a few hours, you know, to play Luke Humphries, certainly
to go to Yorkshire again as well.
Right? Certainly to play a Luke. If the version of Luke Humphries we saw today turn up, then it does look like Gezi's campaign. We know he was eliminated, but it does appear now to be ending on a bit of a whimper.
I think there was one little moment, which I think was 3-1, or it might have been 2-1, I can't remember, but he gave it a bit of a roar and gave it a little bit when he won the leg, and I thought, maybe he does actually fancy this week, whereas I was expecting him to turn up and not really be bothered whatsoever.
I saw, if I'm honest, I couldn't really make my mind up. I think he played with a little bit of freedom of late in the Premier League because he knows that he's not winning it. He's not winning the league. And so often that's what he's aiming for, isn't it? You know, he's aiming to win the league. He wants that bonus. He wants to finish top.
Yeah.
And
At this point, though, with what he's done so far in this Premier League, he could do with a 10 grand bonus for winning one of the nights.
Well, it's at the minute though. It's very much. I think we saw a professional performance from him. That he knew he needed to get points. He was able to qualify tonight, and he needed to get points. He knew that the two people he was, if you like, fighting for those spots with were playing each other, so they couldn't. Aspinall and Smith couldn't both pick up points. Tonight was a real opportunity, and he took it. And we'll come a bit later on to where he went from there in terms of his qualification. We'll move on to our second semi-final, and to say a game went exactly as virtually everybody predicted. I think the only debate has been in the last week: would it be 6-1? Would it be 6-2? How many legs do we give Peter Wright? And I mean, I don't think Luke got out of second gear, really. In fact, I don't think it was the 146. That monster checkout was beautiful.
That was only for an 18 darter as well, though. That's the thing. His scoring wasn't great in that first leg, but then just fired that out of nowhere.
The first couple of legs, the pair of them looked bobbins.
Yeah,
like really, both of them. And it was far from Luke Littler's A game, but again, we've talked about the fact
we're talking about far from his A game being 97 average.
Yeah, far from his A game.
6-1 win. I know he's only played against.
It didn't look or feel like a 97 though when you watched
it didn't. It was another one of those, but I mean, I suppose it's tough.
It's also
good against Peter Wright because he's not like Littler's obviously rapid and throws quick, but then there's always Peter Wright is very deliberate in how he throws, and when he's being deliberate and throwing an 82 average, it's never going to make the entire spectacle look particularly good. And I think that's what Littler possibly suffers from a little bit here. That and the fact that he bottled the 6-0.
You can be drawn down by an opponent who's playing not very well and not very, or is playing a bit more methodical. And I do think it sucked the life out of Littler a little bit in that game. He couldn't quite get himself going. Difficult to pull a positive out of this match in any respect, really, for Peter. Other than the outfit was all right. If you're into Leeds, that was quite well themed. Yellow and blue.
He's done very well with the outfits this year. I'll give him that. Every single one, except for the yellow submarine bobbins that he had on.
It's been a tremendous. I mean, I was on first glance, you can say, well, I mean, he's on 50% on his doubles, but he's only had 2 darts at double in the match. So it's probably not a statistic you want to weigh on too heavy.
I'm not giving him any credit for that.
No.
Bear in mind that 50% was the visit where he won a leg as well, because he was outside first start and then clattered in off it.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said again, I know we've obviously the first 2 games tonight. We've seen the top 2 and the bottom 2 competitors in the league at the minute, and Peter Wright. He's probably not going to relish a trip to Sheffield next week for another meeting with Luke Littler, because
I almost feel like at this stage, like we used to have, where we'd lose a couple partway through the tournament, where you'd have the relegation zone.
Do you know?
Towards the end, I almost feel like at this point, the top 2 in the table might as well just get a bye through to the semi-finals. And just get rid of these 2 at this point, because
we've talked loads about the format, and we'll have a lot of time in a couple of weeks to talk all things Premier League. But we've talked loads about the format over the last 2 years. That is a really, really key point, I think. And we've seen the Premier League massively handicap careers. We've seen people go into the Premier League, have a really rough time of it, and it's really held them back, and it's not their confidence, and they've struggled to get their game back to where it was pre-Premier League. When we've seen that previously, there's been a bit of a reprieve, as after 7-8 nights, it's done for them. They sort of get out, move on, get back on the Pro Tour, get back on the Euro Tour, and try and get back into the swing of things. Whereas I'm not sure whether this format is considering, in fact, I'm fairly convinced it's a lot worse. for those who, like Peter Wright, are not able to get a game won.
Yeah.
The fact that you're getting strung along there for 16 weeks of getting thumped is a very, very long Premier League for somebody. Now, I do think
there's also a side to it that once you know you can't qualify, or realistically you're out of being able to qualify unless you go and win every night, do you think the fact that, let's be honest, none of these 8 need 10 grand for winning a night? So that 10 grand bonus for winning the night is no incentive whatsoever to go up there and sort of give it your all to raise your game, put in the hours in the week to make sure that you're on it for Thursday night, to travel miles away from home just to play 3 games potentially.
I think
it does that 10 grand bonus for winning night does it bring anything to it? Because let's be honest, you guys don't need it, and it doesn't go on your ranking either.
I think it very much depends on who your 8 are. I think there are players in the top 16 that could be considered for a Premier League that are in a place in their career, in their game, mentally, where they're able to get themselves up for any opportunity to play darts on the TV and to beat other top players. I think it's generally the more up and coming, and I don't mean age wise, I mean more up and coming up the rankings wise.
That 10 grand doesn't go on your ranking either, so it's not giving you anything.
No.
Especially if that money doesn't matter to you, which, let's be honest, for Peter Wright and Gerwen Price, it doesn't, does it?
No, it's not going to change their life, is it? It's not going to have really an impact on them.
No.
You would
it would almost be better. It would almost be better, like you say, drop in relegation at this point, and then go back to having the challengers for the second half of the season, and the challengers can go and win the night and win the 10 grand.
Yeah, it's a real tough one, and I do think that Peter is like he's got enough about him that this won't really affect him, mentally.
No,
I don't know. I think he's got far too much about it. But I do think that the format does not lend itself to having someone in there who falls victim to being the whipping boy, so to speak. Because there was, in the previous format, a reprieve where you'd only have to play everyone once, and once they'd all stuffed you were away. And now, like that, it's almost relentless. It's like it just goes on for a very long time. But yeah, I mean, we'll move on from that. It was a game that happened, and it happened exactly the way that we thought it would be. Now, speaking of games happening the way they thought it would, I picked Rob Cross to win the night tonight, and I thought he would.
I picked him to win this match. I didn't have him winning the night, but I am winning this match as well.
But my reprieve, the one thing I will say in my favour, and these are all, you can go back and watch all these videos, I have said for weeks and weeks and weeks that Luke Humphries has played bang average for week after week after week after week in the Premier League. And he's averaged like 98, so a mean average of 98 for weeks. And that's got him through some games, and he's been able to win games with that, 98 sort of 38% on his doubles performance. But I kept saying he is too good to keep doing that. Sooner or later, a performance will come out of him. And he walked out today and averaged in his opening game 109 with 66% on his doubles. Like, I don't know I haven't done the maths to know what you'd have to do to beat that. But it's 9 and 10 darts, isn't it? That's what you're going to have to
do. You've got to do a lot, especially when he's doing it on his own throw as well. Like, it was very, very good from Luke Humphries. Like I say, I crossed to win tonight. I thought it might have meant a little bit more to cross tonight. I know it was in Leeds, and obviously Berkshire is central Leeds, as we know. So I know he was at home tonight, Luke Humphries. But I thought, with the fact that Humphries last week had guaranteed his spot, I thought that this might mean a bit more to Cross, who still realistically had a chance of qualifying at that point.
I agreed. I did as well.
And he's been playing well as well, Cross. As we know, he's been playing really well. And I thought he might just have a little bit too much for Humphries, especially in the form that Humphries was in before this. But after a pretty average first leg from Humphries, where he looked like the Humphries of the last few weeks as well, it then just clicked, didn't it? I think it was about halfway through, because I think even the second leg that he won wasn't great by memory. It was all right, but he only he could have lost that leg as well. And then the breaker throw at 2-1, it absolutely clicked into gear, and off he went and ran away with it. And Cross, I don't think he played badly, to be fair. I don't think he really did anything wrong. He just couldn't live with it.
It didn't, and like we said previously, or like I said about Luke Humphries' previous performances, that performance that we saw from Cross, sometimes that gets you through.
Well, it would have come to beat Gerwen, Price and Peter Wright. Anyway,
yeah, exactly.
Might well have beat Littler.
There's plenty of people that have won plenty of games playing like that now. But again, we've seen another 50% on the doubles from a man who only got 2 darts at a double. But
to be fair, at least Cross got 2 darts at a double playing well. Peter Wright got 2 darts at a double without even being in the game at any point.
Yeah, it was just like magnificent from Humphries. It was a really, really monster performance in front of a crowd that really. I'm not sure. Do we feel the people of Leeds have really got behind Luke Humphries? Do we think? What did you make of the walk on? What did you think of the song?
Firstly, the song is crap in it. Like I'm not having it. He's managed somehow to get something worse for a walk on than Cape by the Ocean. Now, I'm not trying to say that I Predict Right is a worse song than Cape by the Ocean. It's not. But it just didn't work for me. It was rubbish. And I know there were a few at the front that were playing along with it in the crowd and whatever when he was leaning down and doing all this. It was crap, and I was bored of it by the second game.
Yeah, I never liked Cake by the Ocean.
No,
at all.
I quite like it now.
I used to think anything but. Now, but then I think, well, first of all, it's very difficult, right, it's very difficult to, first of all, like rebrand with a new song, especially if that song is one that is already very attributed to somebody else.
Yeah, like a very famous dart player as well.
And this is and this is the thing. Like not only but a former Premier League player.
Yeah.
So that music, it's and Kevin Painter isn't someone else who's played darts. Like
no,
this
exactly.
is a huge name, famous player. Wonderful bloke as well. I have to mention when I met him in Blackpool last year, he was incredibly generous with his time with my little lad, with Billy, and he had a nice chat with him.
Really nice bloke.
Took some photos. And so I don't know if generally when I watch it, I just think it's so the difficulty. So I remember it reminds me when Duzza first came to the PDC. So Duzza had always used Pig Bag elsewhere because it's the song that Middlesbrough Football Club come out to, and it's sort of the borough song round here. Everybody listens to it all the time. But of course, it's Adrian Lewis's Walk On.
Yeah,
and there are people for years that would say to me, like local people up round here, not that into darts, saying, "Well, why doesn't he use Pig Bag? That's the song." And well, he can't because it's these other blokes, and him coming out to that would look absurd. Even if Adrian Lewis stopped playing darts, someone else using that song would be ridiculous because the only conversation would be that's Adrian Lewis's song. So I'm not sure about it. I also think there's another player on the tour whose nickname's the Riot, and if you wanted
well, yeah.
If someone's going to use that,
if we go to the Dan Simpson school of choosing walk-on songs, that would be used for Callum Ritz, obviously.
Of course, it would, and he would get priority because he's from the northeast. So he's
absolutely at top of the list.
But no, I don't.
If he's going to go full plastic Leeds in true Jarlath Eaton style, then the song that they were all singing at the end after he won the night. Spoiler alert: he won the night. Everyone knows anyway. We know we do this every single week. Why didn't he just do Marching On Together instead, which is the proper Leeds song that they all sing and that they all and then just do that and go full on with it. Don't just half-ass it because apparently they're from Leeds and apparently they used to play it if they won a game.
I can't have been played for a while.
Well, not in the last few weeks after they've been bottling the title.
I only dig because they only dig because they've battered every acca I've put on for about a month and a half. Isn't it? So the shirt, and I only ask because we've seen very, very many one-off shirts. The shirt is a one-off shirt, isn't it?
That is literally a one-off. Yeah, he said afterwards he's going to raffle it off for Rob Burrows' charity, which
good on him. I'm all for that.
Big fan of. But yeah, the shirt it looks miles better than his normal one, which is
correct. I like the shirt. I thought it had some quite.
If it wasn't for the white roses all down the side of it, it looked class.
Yeah, I thought it had some sort of classic 90s Tony Yeboah era Leeds vibes about the shirt.
No, I was a big fan of that.
Very, very enjoyable. But yeah, absolutely monster performance there. I mean, we'll talk a lot more about Luke Humphries as the night goes on. Final quarter-final, Cam, was probably, if we're brutally honest, the most important one. The one that we, I suppose we're all looking forward to. Bit weird, this, wasn't it?
Yeah, really odd.
Bit strange. Nobody seemed to look comfortable. Everything I thought would happen, every time somebody went to the hockey, what I thought was going to happen didn't. Every time I thought someone was going to bang a big score and they spooned something. Every time I thought someone was going to cock something, they banged something monstrous. It was really weird. But top and bottom of it is, in this very, very cuspy mid-table battle, Michael Smith gets the win 6-3 to a Nathan Aspinall who was every bit as good as Michael Smith, apart from on the outer ring. Would it be fair to say?
He was not good on the outer ring, was he? Let's be honest. It wasn't good on the outer ring from Nathan Aspinall tonight. His scoring was class.
He outscored him very well. This is the thing. Nathan created every opportunity that he needed to win that match.
He's missed 11 darts at double in 9 legs. And still averaged almost a ton. It shows you how well he's scoring, but you're not going to win any games with missing that many darts at double. And Michael Smith was just steady, I thought. I didn't think he played particularly well, but he just did enough, and he took his chances when they came.
But that I think if and it's still an if, but if Michael Smith qualifies for finals night, I think if somebody was to say, how's that happened? That last sentence that you said pretty much sums it up. He sort of was just steady, took his chances and won some games.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't electrified. He hasn't electrified this tournament at all. He's had one night win on night one.
And he wasn't very good then. I mean, Gezi should have won that final pretty easily.
Yeah, it is, but he has consistently played all right. He's made quite a lot of semi-finals.
He's not been bad by any means, and this is certainly not a slight at Michael Smith. This is
no, it's not. It is because again, being brutally honest, Michael Smith's game at the moment, right across the board, not just in the Premier League, across all of his darts, is not where it was 2 years ago. No. 2.5 years ago. 3 years ago. And I'm taking out winning the World Championship. Even the Michael Smith in the year before he won the World Championship, everything about his game was at a slightly higher level than it is now. But throughout this Premier League campaign, he is consistently doing just enough to get himself, within a match.
Yeah.
Now that's sort of where we're at, isn't it?
It is. It's winning. You're in next week. Whichever one of them wins their game next week, is in. And the big thing is, if he lost tonight, which he very conceivably could have done if Nathan Aspinall had hit his doubles, I mean, I felt like Nathan Aspinall played a little bit like the guy that was chasing tonight, like rather than the guy that was 3 points in front.
Defending a spot, yeah.
Yeah, he sort of the way that he doubled kind of made you feel that he felt like he was under pressure rather than, well, realistically, if he'd won tonight, the top four's done. I think we'd have been down to overall leg difference, possibly.
Well, we
if
were
Michael
almost.
Smith had won the night next week, like it would have been that close because I think they'd have both. It would have needed Michael Smith to win the night and go and win.
Well, we were almost prepared, weren't we, for there to be absolutely no peril on next week, and that next week's show would be a 15-minute
exactly what we want. Doesn't matter about the rest of the night. You've got one game that matters, and it literally, well, potentially, other than Luke Humphries possibly still being able to take top spot, but you've got one game that really matters, which is actually that's a stupid thing to say. There's no way that Luke Littler loses to Peter Wright next week. Spoiler alert!
I was about to say that.
Yeah, spoiler alert for the predictions. Peter Wright does
Okay.
not beat Luke Littler. Doesn't matter what Luke Humphries does, he can't win the league. So yeah, but we've got exactly what we want. We've got one game that really matters, and that is win and you're in.
As long as
between the best two mates in the tournament.
And again, yeah,
Which is horrible. You don't want that against your pal, do you? Like,
awful, but let's be honest, these people, I mean, you know, these lads are likely and have met in big major events, quarterfinals, semi-finals, etc. So, like, it's yes, they're friends, but they are used to working together in this way, as combatants. So yeah, so that does make it interesting. Michael Smith getting the victory 6-3 over Nathan Aspinall. And I mean, from strange game to strange game, I think, because
we've said this a lot tonight already, haven't we?
I mean, and what's weird, and maybe it is, it's, you know, that I thrive and enjoy chaos. It's what I love to see more, and that's probably why I quite like them being strange. But Michael van Gerwen had a big drop off from his opening game, but I can't remember seeing Luke Littler play this badly.
No,
on television, like, you know, and I'm certain that he has. Of course, he has. He's probably played much worse than this, because his average is 96.
I mean, he's averaged 86. I mean, 14% on his doubles. I don't think he ever has played worse than that since we've seen him.
I can't recall.
I'm pretty sure it's the heaviest defeat he's had in any PDC match as well.
So just in the chat room, dead quick. So Daz, we're going to come to next week very soon. What we're going to do, we're going to talk through tonight's action, and then we'll talk through all the matches that are taking place in Sheffield next week, and we'll do some predictions on them as well. So we will come to them once we've talked through tonight's action. But yeah, I mean, Michael van Gerwen didn't play particularly well. I mean, they are not the stats of a 6-1 victory. 24% on your doubles, average 92. Like that. I mean, let's be honest. They are the stats to which people have been beating Peter Wright with this year, aren't they? That's when, and you can't often get away.
Criticize someone that's top of the league and pretty much guaranteed to finish top of a Premier League season in his first ever year in it. It's what I am going to do, because this was fucking rubbish. Like, he was just clearly not focused and cocking about in this game. Like, it was. Some of the stuff he did was stupid. Like, the big moment was at 3-2. Well, 3-1, sorry. It should have been 3-2. Where he's left 20. He's gone inside and gone inside. He's got 5 left. And then he's left himself double 1. And then he comes back to board for double 1 and misses inside second dot, so loses a dot. Whereas he should have been back on double 10, his favourite double on the board. And
the 3 was really strange.
Even if you're going to do that and you've decided I'm not going to go back to double 10, you should be leaving double 2, not double 1 for a start. And it was just utter stupidity. And then at 4-1 down, he then tries to go 3 tops, having not looked like hitting anything he'd gone for about 40 minutes. Like,
do you remember when 3 tops was hitting the Premier League and we were a metre away?
Yeah.
We were on the front. We were by my side on the front row, weren't we, when that happened? Just in just after COVID in Milton Keynes. What a day that was!
Yeah, but
But it wasn't the right thing to do then, and it's not the right thing to do now.
No, it's never the right thing to do.
And that was, I think,
I just thought it was really poor all throughout this game from him. It just looked like he didn't actually give a toss, and was just like, "I'm basically there. I'm just gonna cock about." I might say I don't want to be too harsh on him. I just have been, but I don't want to be because he's had an unbelievable year, and in terms not just in the Premier League, but everything he's done. But in the Premier League, first time on debut to basically be assured at this point of going and winning the league phase.
There is also
very few people have done.
We've said it at one end, and I suppose it would only be fair if we say it on both ends of the league as well, because we've said it about Peter Wright, we've said it about Gerwen Price. Once Luke Littler's beaten Peter Wright tonight, and he knows they're all. First of all, he knows he's already qualified.
Yeah.
Second of all, he knows that all he's got to do is get past Peter Wright next week, and he's guaranteed to finish top of the league. What there is incentivized, and you sort of, and I get that he's not switched on because he can't, he hasn't. But I just think I think he has lost a bit of focus.
He's just won 6-1 the first time round. He's playing Van Gerwen, who he's quite possibly going to play at some point in 2 weeks' time when it comes down to trying to win the thing. The 4 apiece in the head-to-head battle in games that they've played so far. Surely you want to go and put a bit of pressure on him and put yourself ahead in that battle, or at least if he got a point here, if he goes and beats him here and gets another point, he'd already guaranteed the win in the league phase. And then if you turn up and cock around like that against Peter Wright next week, 1, you'll probably still win. And 2, even if you don't, it's fair enough because everyone's going, well, he's already won the league phase before that week. He's had
if he wins tonight,
if
he wins tonight, if he wins that game and he's guaranteed to go, he could play his own game of double off against Peter Wright next week, couldn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he could try and win by only hitting doubles, which is impossible, but he could try it.
I suppose, and coming on to the next one in a second, what we did see, and you mentioned there that this game could happen in a couple of weeks' time, is our semi-final lineup tonight is a potential finals night lineup. Only potential still, but that is a potential semi-finals night, and it was interesting to see those who stepped up and those that didn't, and those that got through it and those that didn't. But in the end, a very, very comfortable Michael Van Gerwen win, very comfortable indeed, and I mean equally comfortable. And another we've seen 6-1s. We've hardly seen any all year, and we've had a boatload of them today. But wasn't quite as monstrous as the first one. It was just as clinical on the doubles and just as impressive in terms of some of the box office stuff, darts that we saw. But Luke Humphries again just ran completely riot tonight, didn't he? With an absolute.
Oh, we're not having that pun in there. No, we're not. Less of that, Mr. Simpson. Not having that he ran riot. That's out.
Hey, all I'm trying to do is give the lad some justification for keeping hold of that song.
I'm sorry, mate. Something's come up. I'm going to have to go. I can't sit through that anymore.
I do apologise.
No, fair enough. I'll let you have it. Yeah, he did. I mean, I think there was at one point about 4 legs into this, he was averaging 120 odd.
Yeah, I think at 4-0 he was averaging 124 or something like that.
Yeah, well, no, it was 100. When he went 4-0, it dropped to 122 because that 85 he took out took 3 points off his average.
Right.
He took out 85 and his average went down 3 points.
I know how he feels,
Yeah. I take out 85, my average goes up 3 points.
It was just, again, it's difficult to really not repeat yourself after the first game, wasn't it? Because it just felt like, this was the Luke Humphries that we saw at the back third of last year. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, it did. It was.
And we haven't seen that
when he was on that run of where he won 3 nights in a row. It felt very much like that.
And there was, and we haven't seen a lot of it in the Premier League this year, but there was a period of time, and if you remove some of the stuff that we saw from Luke Littler, there is a solid period of 4 months, and it carries on when he finds a game that if Luke Humphries plays his best darts, nobody beats him.
No.
If he turns up and he does his thing and plays his best darts, nobody beats him. There isn't anybody else in the world that can reach the level that he can reach and maintain it for as long as he can.
Yeah. They've all got it in him for a leg or two, but he looks like he can do it for a night.
It's all about him reaching that level. That's what it's all about. And I think that's what this Premier League's going to be about. It's whether or not he can peak at the right time and reach that level and hold it through. And if he does, nobody beats him. He just wins because he's the best player in the world.
Yeah.
So
completely agree with you on that. But as with a couple of the others earlier on, he bottled the 6-0 again.
Again, and this is I can't believe I still think we'll see one before the end.
Yeah. Probably Littler next week.
I was about to say we're not doing predictions for next week yet, but I still think we'll see one before the end. We did see a drop in level from Luke Humphries in the final when he took on Michael van Gerwen, but it was still more than enough. There was still a lot of big score, considerably more ton plus visits to the board, considerably just steady scoring through the game and creating opportunities. Broken in that first game, so that first leg, you thought, oh, maybe Michael's gonna up it a little bit, but he didn't. Michael kept a really consistent level all night, level, and Luke just did enough in there. But I thought it was a really enjoyable final. I thought that there was a few, I think 4 breaks, 2 exchanges of breaks on both sides throughout the match, which just made things a little bit tenser. Certainly going into that last leg where Luke was throwing.
We love a 6-5 as well, don't we?
Well, yeah, and especially a 6-5 where we've seen a couple of breaks on both sides, because it just makes that throwing for the match a bit less predictable, doesn't it? It just puts that extra bit of question in everybody's mind as to whether or not they're going to get the job done or not. So a much more entertaining final than I thought we'd have. After the 2 performances from Luke early doors, I thought he's going to absolutely bash MVG up. But don't know. What do you think? Do you think he's hitting form right at the right time, Humphries?
Possibly. We'll see if he follows it up again next week or whether it was.
No Euro Tour this weekend, is there for him? I think he's dipped this one as well, has he?
Yeah, he's at the Euro Tour this weekend.
Oh, is he? Is he playing it?
Yeah.
He's
playing this weekend, and then obviously got Sheffield next week, and then so we'll see if it carries on in Sheffield next week or whether there was just a little extra bit of adrenaline, an extra bit in him this week because it was in his home city of Leeds. But I don't want to come across as a miserable bastard, but I'm gonna do.
I was going to say I'd close the laptop then, mate. If you
for about the 3rd time so far in this night. But I think the reason he got off this game was that he was constantly moaning about that there was a draft. Bear in mind, this is the guy that to this point was averaging 105 on the night going into this final, and still was averaging well over 100 on the night after he's played this final as well.
You've little patience.
Really not affecting it.
You've little patience for people moaning about a draft, haven't you, mate?
I haven't. We sat here last time, didn't we? 2 weeks ago after Rotterdam, and we weren't particularly accepting of the moaning about a draft then. And I'm not going to be now because it's clearly not affecting you. The way you played tonight, it's not affecting him. And it's only affected him in his own mind when he starts moaning about it. Because he's thrown one dart that's maybe not on quite where he's thrown it, because he's probably not throwing it as hard as he usually throws his rest. And I know he's got long darts and he has a bit of a weak throw. But he was still averaging over a ton at this point. Just get on with the game and play the game. If you want to get paid the big money and play in big arenas in front of a lot of people, then sometimes there's going to be a little bit of a draft because there's a lot of doors and they open and close all the time.
Yeah, we've been getting out a garden done at the minute, and the weather's beautiful up here. So I've been leaving the kitchen door open, get the doors out onto the garden.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really affected my game, if I'm honest. I've been just pushing through.
I mean, if you were averaging 109, you'd probably leave the door open, wouldn't you?
I'd knock the fucking back wall out, mate.
Exactly.
I'd take the roof off if I was averaging 109.
109, winning a Premier League night. It's just you're only affecting yourself by more.
That's the problem. My worry is the effect it has on himself and not anybody else. Nobody else cares about it. It's as in nobody else cares that he's having to play in a draft. And nobody will listen to it, so he might as well just get on with it and take it out of his own mindset, because it does seem sometimes to get the better of him. Right. So that brings to an end. Almost brings to an end the Premier League. Brings to an end night 15 in the First Direct Arena in Leeds. The league table. We haven't got Jowler this week. Therefore, we haven't got anyone with the technical know-how to put it on the screen, but I have got the league table in front of me, the updated one.
Oh, you managed to find it online? Because I did what I've thought would be clever, and I took a picture of it on Sky when it was on my telly before
I did that last week. And what's gone on? See, what we've done is we've talked in the first half for longer than we normally do. And
it's even making this role
giving everybody time to update the league. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because we sort of already all know what it says. But we've got 3 qualifiers at the top of the league: Luke Littler, Luke Humphries, and Michael van Gerwen sitting in spots 1, 2, and 3. Littler on 38 points, Humphries on 33 points, and Michael van Gerwen on 27 points. And we've got Peter Wright at the foot of the table on 4 points, Gerwin Price above him on 12, Rob Cross in 6th spot on 17 points. All those players are eliminated. There are only 2 players left playing for 1 spot at finals night. That is Nathan Aspinall on 25 points, currently in 4th place, and Michael Smith currently on 24 points, currently in 5th place. Where they currently stand means absolutely nothing, because there's 1 point between them. They play each other next week, and it's 2 points for a win. So that game is a straight shootout in the quarterfinal next week, and whoever wins that quarterfinal will be taking that final spot on the 23rd of May in the playoffs at the O2 in London. And with that, Cam, it is time to go to the Utilita Arena, one of a few Utilita arenas. They love an arena, Utilita.
They do like an arena.
This Utilita Arena is in Sheffield. And next Thursday, we will get night 16, the final proper night of the Premier League this year. And we'll come for predictions. Folks in the chat room, please share your predictions.
Have a big final night of the Premier League and take it to Sheffield.
Yeah, weird.
Bloody Yorkshire again.
Yorkshire 2 weeks in a row as well. Yeah, if you're in the chat room,
1 week. Never mind 2.
Please put your predictions into the chat. We'll have a look at them. You can take the mick out of both of us when we predict stupid things, because we invariably do. But I think we'll probably get some consensus both among the chat room and on the stream with this one, is because don't forget next week, folks, the fixtures next week are determined entirely by league position. So number 1 plays number 8, number 2 plays number 7, etc., etc.
I assume it will be in that order as well, so that the meaningful game is the last of the quarterfinals.
Well, I'll read them out to you in bracket order, and then we'll see what between the PDC and Sky they decide to do in terms of layout. So the opening game bracket order next week is, because we've got 1 against 8, is Luke Littler against Peter Wright. So I'll come to you first with that one, Cam. How many?
Does Luke Littler win by?
Yes.
Yeah. I assume
your predictions in.
Yeah, I assume that is the way they will do it as well. In that, because if they do it in that order, it means that the last of the quarterfinals is the one that matters, which would make sense. Yeah, sorry. You said we're going to have one. We're going to have one. 6-0, Littler.
Repeat or revenge?
No, we're not even having that narrative.
Repeat. And I'll double down on the repeat and say 6-1.
You're not taking that one as your 6-0 that you've told us we're going to get. You've got to kick a 6-0 out of the others now.
I will. I've got it. I know which one it is. Daz has gone with a Littler 6-3 win. Wright 6-5.
Sorry, kick him out.
Immediately. Malachi's gone. He's agreed with you, Cam. He's gone with a Littler 6-0 win. I think, the only problem with it's going to be is even the value that even on a double your odds from BetMGM.
Double your odds minus 4.5.
A bet on that game is going to be a struggle. I think other one. I'll tell you what I did do with them tonight, and BetMGM had good odds. I had over 3.5 Luke Littler 180s, which came in.
Nice.
That was my pick because I couldn't find much else to do in that game that had any value to it. I tell you what, I'll come to that one last as well because it's the important one. Luke Humphries against Gerwen Price, and this one is my whitewash.
Is it?
This is my 6.
What are you thinking that Gezzy's not going to turn up again? Literally not turn up again.
I think he'll actually stand on the stage and concede them this time instead of conceding them from Wales. But yeah, I'm going with a Humphries 6-0. I think Humphries is on it. We've seen he's on it tonight. I think he's starting to gear himself up towards that final. I think he really fancies this Premier League, and I think Gerwen Price wants to be anywhere in the world that isn't the Premier League.
Yeah. While I agree with you in that I don't think Gezzy wants to be there whatsoever, I think he'll start well again. And he'll get 3 legs on the board. But when it comes down to it, Humphries will just play better down throughout the match and end up winning it 6-3.
So Video Smith, he's retained his marbles, but he's got his marbles back.
He's gone for the same as me. I'm not sure that's retaining your marbles in any.
I'm not sure. He could have just gone right off the deep end now, following you. Taz has gone with a Humphries 6-0. I tell you what, people are buying into our nonsense this week. Cam,
they are. We've talked for that long that they've just started to believe that we know what we're on about.
Says more about the chat room than it does about you and I think. Next one will go down, and I think this is probably the hardest game in terms of me picking what I think is going to happen. Struggling with my voice at the minute. Michael Van Gerwen and Rob Cross. I'll let you go first on this one, Cam. What do you think?
Yeah, I just still don't think that Michael Van Gerwen is playing particularly well. And I think Rob Cross is playing well. And I think he wins. And I think it's going to give an opportunity to whoever wins out of the bottom pair to go on, say, 3rd spot rather than 4th spot.
Which might
be worse because you're going to end up with possibly Humphries rather than Littler.
I was going to say that does have an effect with the seedings going into the final night, doesn't it?
But yeah, I think that Bobby Cross wins this one 6 legs to 4.
Ooh. Well, I am going to disagree with you, actually. I think I saw enough in the throw of Michael Van Gerwen tonight and the smoothness at which he was chucking darts. But I don't think it'll be easy. I think it'll be a 6-5. I think it'll probably go all the way.
I just think when it comes to a 6-5 these days that Van Gerwen looks vulnerable.
I think he looks like a normal dart player and that we're just used to him not looking vulnerable for so long.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, like,
You know what I mean? Like I think he looks the same as anyone else. I just think
he looks human almost.
yeah, exactly. He just not so much funny. He just looks like everybody else sometimes.
Yeah.
Video Smith has gone with a cross 6-4 win.
He has clearly lost his marbles. He's got two same predictions as me in a row.
Tonight, Daz has gone with a 6-2 MVG victory. Malachi's gone in with an MGV 6-3. He's gone.
6-3.
Now, we've jumped around in the order a little bit for next week. But the actual game that matters, the important game next week, is the quarterfinal between Nathan Aspinall and Michael Smith. Straight shootout for a spot in finals night. And you went first last time. Do you want me? I'll do it.
Yeah, it's your turn. Go on.
It will be a 6-4 win for Michael Smith. I just think he's been too steady. Nathan's peaked and troughed a lot. Could be 6-2 to Nathan. Like, he could come out and put a monster performance in. But I just think he's just not quite on it at the minute. And Smith's too steady.
Yeah. Predictably, I'm going to disagree with you. And I think this is vintage Asp, This is 6-5 scrap. Like, absolutely couldn't be more Nathan Aspinall if you tried.
The situation would suit the Nathan Aspinall stereotype, wouldn't it? That back to the wall?
I don't think he can be that bad on his doubles again as he was tonight.
Does he come from behind as well in your prediction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's 5-4 down.
5-2 down or something.
No, just 5-4 down, I think. But 5-4 down, having won the bull, so he's got a break to get to 5-all and then wins it on his own throw.
So, Video Smith's gone 6-5. Nathan.
He's got 3 in a row with me. Oh, he has. The old marbles have gone.
Daz has gone 6-3. Smith. Malachi has gone 6-5. Aspinall. No, he hasn't. He's gone 6-5. Smith. Honestly, I'm losing it tonight. I'm losing.
His head's gone completely.
It is. I think
what happens when we get towards an hour? This is because we started early. We actually started before the broadcast was scheduled to start.
We did. We were on early today, but I'm tired. This has been a busy week this week. I'm very tired.
Good question. Will we see a 9-darter?
No, I don't think so.
I feel like we threatened a couple tonight. There were a few. Do
you know why we want to see it next week? Because we'll only see one, and it'll be on finals night. I think.
You think?
I think we'll see it on finals night. Yeah, they've all got it in them to do it. And this is the problem with some of these: is they've got it in them. They've got that monster performance in right time. Right things, right time. All of them.
Yeah.
And I think if we see one, that's where it happens this year. I think with this bunch, I think it's finals night. Before we go,
I think we get one next week. I think in his 6-3 loss to Luke Humphries, Gezi Price hits a 9-darter. Second leg.
I mean, I wouldn't like to think what BetMGM would offer you for that.
If I could get double odds on it as well.
If you can get double your odds on both the correct score and the 9-darter from Gezi Price, I think that's.
And what leg that he does it in?
I think they'd have to make you a shareholder. I think I'd
own BetMGM, yeah.
They couldn't pay you out. They couldn't pay you out. They just have to go to the company's house and add you to the list of directors. Right. Although it doesn't matter.
Video Smith reckons there's a 9 in Asp against Smith. That's going to be too scrappy. It's too nervy. We're not getting a 9.
No. Right. Oh, dear me.
Hang on, we need to pick a winner for the night. I know it doesn't matter.
It means absolutely nothing. But and don't forget, we're back in bracket order. So if you can see the bracket, that's where we're picking our winners from. Winner of the night, And who do they beat in the final, please, Cam? And those in the chat room as well. Who wins the night and who do they beat in the final?
Rob Cross beats Luke Humphries in the final.
You can't. They're in the same half of the bracket.
No, they're not, are they? That's not the order we did it in.
I know, because we saved the... I was quite clear. We saved the important game to last.
Oh, well, who's on what side of the bracket? My flash score didn't have it.
Littler, Wright, Aspinall, Smith, top half.
Right, okay.
Humphries, Price, Gezi and Cross, bottom half.
Right, okay. I'm still having Cross winning the night. And he beats...
That is rogue, that. He's going to go through MVG.
He beats Littler in the final then.
You've got Rob Cross beating the top 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
As we know, though, it doesn't matter after none of the games.
I mean, no, you're right. It doesn't matter. I am going with Michael Smith beats Luke Humphries.
Okay.
I think Michael Smith beats Nathan Aspinall, and then all the pressure's lifted. He knows he's in. A bit of freedom in his throw. I think Littler's a bit up and down, certainly from what we saw semi-final tonight. If we see the same from him in the semi-final next week, Smith beats him.
Yeah.
I think if Smith wins 2 on the bounce, relaxed, feeling good, knowing he's got no
He
more to do.
Yeah.
So Smith beats Humphries in the final for me. Now, I think that's it for the night. A couple of little notices about things that's going on over the coming days and weeks. Obviously, we've got a Euro tour this weekend, so keep an eye on all of our socials for updates and reports and news and bits and pieces like that. We are going to, me and Phil are going to watch along the final session of the Euro tour on Sunday evening, which is something we've done for the last few Euro tours, and it's worked really well. People seem to get quite involved and quite enjoy it. So if you're watching that Euro tour on PDC TV, you can stick us on for some alternative commentary. But me and Phil will be doing a watch along on Sunday evening for that event. Live lounge on Monday. And then Cam and I think we'll be back on Thursday for the Fallout Bar for the Night 16 in Sheffield, where we'll know who our final 4 are going to be. And whilst it's a little bit ahead of time still, we are going to do May the 23rd for finals night. We're going to do a live watch along for the night. We're going to get as many members of the team as possible on that night. Might be not everybody all night. Might be people coming in for different matches and chopping and changing throughout the evening. But we are going to do a live watch along. We'll be able to sync up, or you'll be able to sync us with what your action is on the TV. And again, a bit of alternative commentary, a bit of crack and banter while we're in the, or you can have in the chat room while we're all watching finals night together. Thank you very much, Cam. Thank you for joining me as always. Thank you everyone in the chat room for being involved. Thank you to BetMGM for continuing to sponsor our little Thursday catch-ups when the darts finishes. That has been night 15. We are right down to the end of the Premier League this year. I've been Dan Simpson. I've been joined by Mr. Cam McFarlane. Thank you all very much and good. Now, do you know what? I'm saying thank you very much and good night. And I haven't got the video ready.
Oh, what's he done? It was all going so well.
I'll try again. Thank you very much and good night.